Welcome to the Sean Bond Show on Wolf Spirit Radio. Broadcast on the fourth Monday of the month at 7 p.m. PST. Sean will take you through the astral byways and highways and bring you back home ready for the next show. Here's your host, Sean Bond.
Hello, how is everybody today? How are you, Jaypee?
I'm okay. Actually feeling a lot better than I have been over the last few days, a couple of weeks. So, yeah, things are improving for me. How about you?
Great. Getting stronger, a lot more being discovered, remedying stuff, micro and macro with friends, and also, the the other places that we all that interact with, and knowing or unknowingness. So, yeah, what kind of stuff has been manifesting for you since we last talked?
Wow. I've been getting around to doing things that I've been unable to do for a long time. So that's been quite a good energy. It's like getting around to it, all those round to it. So I got a big stack of them now.
Yeah, me too. I've been shifting around stuff in my room and taking up things that I meant to, but like were heavy and I didn't feel like moving them up. And getting everything more productive. I've been working on my energy so that I have more energy at any given time. Motivation, this spark of like excitement and living. I've been working on that. I've also been working on weight loss operating systems, which is interesting because there's so much stuff, it's like subconscious baggage that can be transmuted that amplifies a person's ability to increase their metabolism, and what's the peak that they've ever had their metabolism in their lifetime, getting back up to that, and eventually also imprints of codes to increase that even past that level.
Well, that'd be handy because I never really peaked in terms of metabolism.
Right. Yeah, a lot of people have trouble with it. It's very blocked. It's like how it works with thyroid, and it's also the radiation shield. So if you get hit with radiation, it all goes there. So that also goes into psionic abilities too, with how you react to that. If you just take it all in and develop thyroid cancer, or you transmute it somehow, out of your body, inside your body, or you ground it. Have you ever seen there's actually a Doctor Who episode where he gets blasted with radiation, he puts it all into his shoe, and then he throws it off his shoe. Yeah, you can do that. It's the energy, if you can control the flow of it in your body. If it's stagnant, it builds up in cells, or if and how it changes DNA and stuff, you can reverse that. I've also a lot of emotional trauma. I went back to when I was born, a lot of birth trauma. I had a cord wrapped around my neck, so a lot of past life of hangings, bleeding over from that, as well as things stopping my voice, my throat, keeping me from speaking, and some things trying to steal my my authority through words and stuff. So all that coming together in one pinpoint of manifestation, and then learning all the things to resolve that and going through that training course. That's fun. So what kind of things have been coming up on that? I think that will be a good catch line for us. What are the things been appearing on your dashboard this week?
Yeah, I've been looking at some of my old writings. For years I would sit down and tune and sit with a piece of paper and ask a question, write it down, a question, and then just listen for an answer, and it would come. And eventually I started rather than using a piece of paper, I went over to using my laptop, and I made a Word document for every communication that I did, and then eventually I made a database that drew all of these separate entries into one place that I could scan through. And when I did that, I discovered that there was such information there that it was beyond my own scope, really. It was something this other people might be interested in this stuff, kind of thing. So a couple of years ago, I bought a domain. So it's called crownbasetransmissions.com. And I post occasional things that I dig up when I'm looking up and down my messages. And, sometimes I use it like a divination. I just go into it.
Wow, that's really great. Never underestimate the power of a Word document. And, that sounds interesting. Send me a link to that later.
Here's the thing. So, let me just read this very short piece. I asked them, what is my sole purpose? This is from 2005, 11/15. Just 15 years ago? Yes, no, 12 years ago. Yes, 12 years ago. I said, what is my sole purpose? And this is what they said. You cannot really know all of this, as again you don't need to know, and in fact it is better that you do not. Suffice to say that you are able to deliver a crucial energy to the world when it is needed, and you need not worry or prepare. You are already who you need to be. Any more would be bonus.
That's absolutely perfect. I love that explanation. And that can apply to so many people. Oh, yeah. And then like the free will of that afterwards, because then you think of like, oh, I'm already in the green because I'm like resolving lots of stuff without my knowingness. I've been here for so long, and so like, yeah, and then everything's like, when you're looking forward to getting extra hours at work or something, because you get like super bonuses or something.
Oh yeah, bonus. It would be a bonus. It would be extra to the deal. That'd be happy. Make everybody happy.
A Christmas party and bonus for the year.
Yeah, Christmas bonus. Oh yes, I don't get any of that anymore.
Well, you'll have to give it to yourself.
Well, certainly not from business colleagues. But, we get it all the time. It's like, wouldn't it be better if Christmas was every day?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think for a month it would be amazing, and then everyone would would lose money, and then, it'd be like cheap stuff being given as gifts or food. And maybe like if there was a bartering system of like, I don't know. If I was thinking if that was like, let's do it. Let's all make a decision right now to have Christmas every day. And then how would that work?
Well, look, here's the other thing. In my esoteric studies, I've worked with this thing that is known as the litanies, and they are kind of like a esoteric advent calendar, which are a series of meditations that you do. There's 7 of them, one for each ray, and they go from the 1st of December to the 25th of December, or 24th. And instead of it being an external child that is born, you basically birth the Christ child inside yourself, in your heart. So
that's awesome.
They're available for download at my website. I'm going to try and be mindful enough to perhaps even play them on the night. There's 7 of them. I'll play them on their appropriate night, on the 1st and the 3rd and the 5th or something. Anyway, but if you miss it, you can download them from my website on everbeyondradio.com under the archives. But anyway, this is not my show. This is your show, Sean. And And,
don't worry about it, dude. Plug all your stuff, man.
plug away. So, yeah, what's your website, by the way? It's, silver something.
Yeah, silver cord, like, that thing that comes out of the back of your neck in some perceptions is a lifeline for astral travel. Silver cord spiritual science, silvercordss.com and silver cord spiritual science is the YouTube and the Facebook and all that. You can contact, Mary, my assistant, and, at mokorn@hotmail.com if you want to get a hold of me, and then we can work on all these different stuff. Okay, I'm getting that plug. Okay, so like we can do a lot resolving stuff. So you've been like, getting like symbolically, physically, and spiritually getting everything organized in order, everything up, more operating systems on your walls, internally and externally, getting, more temporally, synced up and, balanced, and you're still looking for more because you're engaged in time travel, so there's lots more to
we did
do.
a show about that earlier this evening. Yeah, lots of time travel. But yeah, I'm looking for the people who are in the future working with me, if you see what I mean. We know that they're there. We know they're working in the future. When do they contact me? Maybe tomorrow. That'd be great.
Oh, they've contacted you already. You gotta learn to read your telepathic, messages in your heart. Though there are things blocking the awareness of their communication. Also, you have to make an operating system to start opening up the message, read it in a stream, and be able to tell the difference between when you're reading the message and when you're not. And I can go into that if you want.
That's interesting. How to read, because like I can do it if I'm sitting down, like I said, I'm sitting down in front of the laptop, a piece of paper, and I can tune into it. But to be able to channel it real time, that would be something.
Oh yeah, you can absolutely do that. You're already pretty good at it, you can go into automatic writing in too, but there's different methods to do it. I'm good at my method, so I can teach you that. But, let's see. So we can go into, time travel missions as well. There's a lot of stuff going on Mars. There's, so like going into the Christ consciousness thing with like everyone can have it themselves. He went into how this is everyone's potential if they so choose as a life path, and all the stuff that he was involved in, which I don't like to get into because it's high dramatic information that can change lives by hearing it. And also he doesn't want everything known about everything that really happens, so he can have an unpredictable chess move.
Hang on a second. High drama. It's like, what does that exactly mean?
Think about, he's like a spirit that, has many different versions of himself around the planet, just like everyone else, in many different expressions, resolving things, and he's doing multiple missions around the planet. He's never left. And he's uniting, he's got a lot of missions, so I don't want to go into it because he's trying to do an unpredictable chess move, and every time something's exposed, then he has to have more energy expended to resolve that, as well as anyone else that has major secret missions, exposed to the public, so that becomes a point of focus for attack. So anyway, that's just an example of living as a source oracle in oneself, in alignment with the universe, in alignment with self, in alignment with, Earth, and multiple planets, in manifestation to have the processing power to be able to manifest the mystical as they choose, and in living incarnation and embodiment of source. But like a lot of beings actually are able to do that everyone's fractally connected to source, though there's degrees of separation based on choice, belief, a lot of things that we're agreeing to from having the DNA technology and being in this reality, passing down all these belief systems and entanglement with drama and things trying to steal our abilities and quarantine and all the other stuff that's going on this planet that's like makes it one of the bigger games that not anyone should really underestimate. Okay, so back on that subject. So there's lots of technology that's symbolically represented in the Bible as well as esoteric Christianity with the Christos and the sacred cranial fluid, and like there's also concepts with the Kundalini of the currents of energy that go up and down the spine. That's an energetic extension of somebody that has also somewhat of a reactive consciousness in elemental quality that it has a mechanism for how it works, and you can monitor it in its peak actualization. Some people are good at activating, some aren't. Some can go through violent ones, or really comfortable slow ones, which I like to do, so that it's not like, cause it can get hijacked and, just like any other technology. Then I also go into a system of, there's this other weird current that I came across that's symbolically represented by like a cosmic egg or the Buddha egg, or it's like a dove or an energetic, it takes that form of a spiritually activated bird kind of concept of free symbolic expression in a person to amplify everything that they are in being their true authentic self. It's hard to explain. There's a lot of layers to it because it's been used for a lot of things. It's like it adds to what's going on in the spinal column, and then that's the advancement of somebody going through the mystery school of the self. And I've learned how to activate that as well. Then so like the Christos is another thing. There's many layers to it, as well as its ability to activate the many trillions of neurons and neurotransmitters in the brain, the ability to store more and more amounts of information, retain more memory, download knowingness streams, connect to more of the person's self, their infinite part of themselves in DNA. Yeah, so there's a bunch more systems that I'm coming across, like with auric field control and being able to activate every layer of the technology that I'm discovering energetically, as well as like the esoteric anatomy through your DNA cells and the organs and what they can do at their peak potential that have been mostly dormant for most people, but at any point in time, if they know they can interact with it and start programming, getting their broken down systems that have dust on them up and running, then hey, they got some really advanced stuff that gets way more advanced in the future than really anyone has been able to manifest today. But like when we get the skeletal structure for all the subtle energy skill sets, raising up the bar every time, every generation, it gets easier and easier to manifest for the aggregate of the entire collective consciousness. Sorry, I went into the stream.
Go ahead. It's your show.
Right. Okay. Well, thanks. Okay. So what, let's tune into like some stuff with the temporal thing. So like are you seeing improvement in your life at all, and like in life tracks, because you've been doing pretty good at getting rid of a lot of negative connections to influences on your timeline for things trying to steer it in a different direction.
Yeah, that has been part of my last few weeks. I've been very jippy in the body and feeling very sick in the stomach and all that for a long time, sort of nausea, which I seem to be coming out of as well. That's a good thing. But at the same time, I feel kind of stronger, more grounded, in it. Just probably because it's been like, I've been having to feel my body, having to be in my body, which is in present moment. Like our last guest was talking about. You know, if you feel yourself in your body, if you drink your ice, if you crunch your ice, you're not thinking, you're in the moment. So those are, I've been, having a lot more physical in the body experiences, which is no bad thing at all.
Okay, so I'm looking at the biggest, like the bleed over of incursions that you have on your timeline can be triangulated back to various apex predators that have become aware of your spirit back in time and are trying to suppress you in lots of ways. There's always multiple reasons. So we can go and track back what would be the most advantageous thing to free up your whole soul's investment in resolution so that it resolves whatever's like the biggest problem, and then it then invests, because like we're involved in the solution because we have the DNA technology. We're working with large amounts of soul family that we've been working with and uniting with through our lives. So like we're uniting those pieces together to get the job done faster. Going back in time, what was once we resolve things like this, they'll be like, wow, you resolved this big problem that's been a bleeding wound for like a long time in your spirit. We now have all this free, time for all these beings that were doing, this job before. They can now come help you and help actualize the greater purpose of your spirit here now. And you can add many, many layers to that amazing statement that can be given to pretty much anyone on life purpose. So what brought up your interaction with Prometheus, by the way? Like, where does that come from?
Right. Well, in 1986, I had a motorcycle accident, and I woke up 3 weeks later, and I had a huge scar on my stomach, and they said that I'd bled my way out because my liver had broken into lots of pieces, and they had to scoop it all out and sew me back together and hope that I would survive. And 3 weeks later, I woke up and I had a big scar. And my liver grew back really quickly. It took 5 weeks to grow back. It was like he said 30% was left. And the rest was all cut to pieces. And it grew back in 5 weeks. And that's a big bit of meat. How big you've seen a lamb's liver. Human liver's bigger than a lamb's liver. Obviously not as big as an ox liver, but,
yeah, you have
sorry for the vegans on the show who are listening to this.
Yeah.
It's very visceral. But I tell you, that was the thing I craved straight away. Give me some liver. I need some chopped liver. Just like Mama used to make. Anyhow, so when I was needing an email address in 1998, when we were first getting Hotmail, I was thinking, well, I don't want to call myself Jeremy Perron because that's just nobody else going to. I don't know. So I thought, oh well, hang on, I'll call myself Prometheus because I had this, I had this scar thing and the liver thing. It was a vague mythology. I've always had this kind of vague mythology interest, and so I just threw it down there, and it said, oh no, that name's already taken. But I persevered and I replaced the O with a 0 and the S with a 5. So it still looks like Prometheus. And that's been my handle ever since. It's like it's one of my computer age handles. And then there was the Andronicus Transmissions, which is, Jessica Morocco, who, has been channeling this Andromedan group, and I read out their transmissions every week. We do it together as a sort of almost like a radio play, and eventually they started talking about a character called Primus Teos, or Teos Prime, who was like a fellow Titan, and that being became known later as Prometheus. So I believe. But they call me Primus. They address me directly as Primus.
Okay, so yeah, without giving much away, you have interactions with the Greek mythology that need to be resolved, as well as
yeah, I mean there's the whole thing with Hera and Zeus and all that, unforgivable.
right.
Like, that wasn't nice. Like, it just really was not nice.
Yeah, there's things that have happened with that being since then, and a lot of other stuff, and the timelines aren't set in stone because there's almost no anchorage in our reality for what existed. So, it's a little looser than, what you would be dealing with a paradox when you're healing your timelines in interaction with the Greek mythos, and the demigods, and let's see, what do you got? Okay, so bleeding over from your DNA, you've got some, okay, what is this?
Yeah, there was a lot of bleeding. I did lots of bleeding.
Okay, so I don't,
Sean is currently
Prometheus's DNA is rare. So like you're not gonna find too many beings on this planet with it. Though there are a lot of beings with Titan DNA. You do have one lineage connecting to you anciently for Titan DNA. Let me see, which is this. Ooh. It's going up. Okay, it's going through that. I'm looking back at who exactly you're. Okay, so this is interesting. You have a introduction from one lineage. This is this is weird because they get into genetic manipulation, programming, and genetic engineering, and DNA skin suit types, and adding and creating hybrid species. So you have. Am I allowed to say this online? I'm just gonna completely ask because I don't want to just assume. Okay, I'm allowed to talk about a bit of it. Going back, you have a mermaid lineage that connects anciently through your mother's side, that goes and connects to Poseidon, which then connects, through their parent lineages of combining species in like a uniting royal families thing that they do, or for pleasure or whatever it is. Those gods have a lot of children, and in different species, because they can shapeshift.
Yeah, so can mermaids.
Okay, I'm gonna be careful with what I'm saying. Yeah, so we're gonna heal that, and you can go into the lineage technology that makes you kind of, because though you have some interactions with Prometheus spiritually as well, so we'll have to resolve that. What they're doing is very camouflaged, so we're gonna do that in secret. I'm getting things for that. Okay, let's move on to the next subject. What's next temporal?
Meanwhile,
you got some, yeah. I'm already getting let's stop talking about that from the beings. Whew, big rush. Okay, so items for your temporal, you got some new items. Ooh, you did. So we got your item back last time. Also, I had a whole bunch of, Nagas, come talk to me after that show, which was interesting, as well as some factions that attacked me that, they have negative versions of their species, of course. But whatever. And then,
So tell us what happened.
stuff.
I mean, what did they say about you doing this show?
They don't have many beings talk about, them in humans. And not many that are accurate besides who done research on them. Besides doing that, like what psychically and mission-wise interacts with them. I do, remedy missions for Earth, so I do visitations and, I'm engaged in helping the resistance-free Earth movement for uniting different factions of species in inner Earth, off-planet, and intersolar mostly, but there's also how all the immigrating species here, from the galaxy and beyond. Cause we're got so many, lines of interaction backwards and forwards in time with what we do here. Okay. So I went into that. I, got contacted by a bunch of the royalty. They don't really care that much that I'm going into that they have a wedding. The wedding is in a few days. It's like we went into before when we were talking, it's a culmination of manifestation for light, all sides, light, dark, and neutral, because it's a big event. It's have you seen the Godfather series?
No, I haven't, but maybe I should watch it.
There's what is it? I can't, deny a request on the day of my daughter's, wedding or whatever, and there's all kinds of, attitude differences when they're having a celebration. It's not a wedding. It's an interaction, of agreement in ceremony for breeding and uniting, a lineage group that has rituals involved, and, the whole different, groups are coming, and, it's there's a lot getting done, both in peace as well as drama. There are chess moves to negate what's going on. So a lot of beings are making chess moves manifest at that time. There's also things going on, off planets with, there's different things on every planet, going on, but I'm becoming aware of a bunch of stuff going on with Mars that wasn't in a great, much of a potential before. You're aware of, the different species of reptoids on Mars, natives that are different than the other ones that are talked about?
I'm aware that, there are many species of reptoid, and, various species of humanoid. And, I'm pretty much aware that the reptoid types will heartily outnumber and outage the humanoids. They're much more of an ancient group. Is that right?
Yeah, most humans have all these limiters on them and all this stuff that they have to take care of to increase their longevity factor, and also the belief system that they're meant to be living to 100 and have all these toxic factors that they bring into that effect. But we have the potential to live longer than them, but they also have the potential at any point. It's a being able to control your genetics equation as well as a spiritual factor, what you have in your genetics, what like planet you're on, and if you're working with the consciousness of that planet, radiation factors, what's been passed down to you in longevity technology, as well as the belief systems of the culture, such as enhancement abilities like subtle energy skill sets like qigong, alchemy, herbology, nutrition, all kinds of ways. So yeah, they currently got a longer lifespan that they're more easily accessible currently to them without doing much work. So I guess you could say that, but that also varies based on their knowledge too, and how long they want to live, and if they actually put the work in to making that manifest, because they don't like have a belief system that they're limited in lifespan, and they try to push it as much as they can.
Willpower.
Yeah.
Anyway, so the Nagas, right? You were talking about them last week on the show, and they contacted you, and kind of did they threaten you in any way?
Some of them did. Not all of them are working together. Some were like rogue factions that became aware of the show that are part of the dominating aspect of their civilization. There are ones there. I was doing peace agreements with ones that were in the neutral sense or were easily able to be brought into a mode of peace, because I'm also interacting with various other beings because I've had a lot of beings attack me, so I've had to learn how to counter chess move that. I'm not like immensely enmeshed into the Naga or Reptoid energies as much as other people are. I like to range from a lot of different species, though every species is the best at resolving their own drama. So when I'm resolving my drama with the Naga, I've had to learn a bunch of stuff in gaining their respect, and I've united with a bunch of different factions that were connected to my DNA lineage, that I've had introductions of different types of Naga as well as other reptoids, and looking to extend my ancestral lineage protection to them, uniting with them in ancestors, spiritual as well as leading into physical, and ones that can telepathically communicate. I started with versions of myself and worked with the less dramatic ones. Then I worked my way up to the ones that I could handle, and then eventually get up to uniting families and get a scaling and monitoring system for the game at a whole and every client that I work with. And if there's a drama or remedy that's needed for that lineage bleed over, then that will add to the puzzle that I'm going on in uniting Naga faction. So I already had like a bunch of ones around the planet in inner Earth groups that I already had peace established with. So I was offering a peace agreement between mine and a lot of the other families that are coming in, that, and they did some visitations, and I did bilocating and bunch of stuff I can't talk about, but there's also they connect to because they genetically program a bunch of different skin suit types, and they have caste systems and all this warrior, magicians, priest classes. There's all kinds of things you can find. There's also ancient DNA lineage versions that are like in a very long life extension technology or immortality path, like giant telepathic serpents like that we went in, that that came to me, and it was really interesting. And I've dealt with some of them before, mostly versions of myself. They're not always the best thing to work with, and because you're going to get a little bit of a bleed over based on the drama they're dealing with. But if you're able to maintain yourself under those conditions and have a silent protection, then you can. What's the word for when you're finding a common enemy and you're choosing not to fight each other and focusing on the common enemy?
The enemy of my enemy is my friend.
Yeah, it's like that. And then that brings whole species together too, because that's done that many times in the past. So yeah, there's that. And then same thing happened. There's like a different species on Mars. Mars is a very awesome planet. It's got a lot going on. I go into how I teach people how to go into their celestial oracle mediumship and be able to talk to the planets and work with them, engage in trade. You want to do it in a filtering process because they have a lot of drama and it bleeds over. So you want to filter that out and not get that. But when you can unite with the planets and get them behind you and you behind them and flow, things go faster. The planets align with you, metaphor. It's true. And then you can resolve a bunch of stuff. I got different versions of myself there. Mostly, large amounts of energetic spirits and ancestors and, inner earth groups. There's a lot of elementals there, and it's a planet that's like how it incarnates on this planet as an extension of its tree. It likes to incarnate in a lot of big movers and shake, like all the planets like to do this. Incarnate is a bunch of big movers and shakers in the timeline. You can kind of, they'll either be in the main driver's seat of the vehicle or they'll be in a, collective consciousness with the being, and working with them in access their libraries of information, knowledge, wisdom, skill sets, abilities, support. So yeah, there's a lot going on there. And I can show people how to go into their operating system with resolving things with any planet that isn't united with them, and so they can lay down their swords and be at peace and then work for the greater remedy of their spirit, having less bogging them down, less limiting them, less stopping their way, their pace, their, gatekeeping them, whatever. Because there's a lot of systems that we have to account for in the solar system in spiritual nature that would limit us, like age or whatever. Anyway, there's a bunch of stuff going on. There's a bunch of different species here besides our secret space program, and you all know about that. The grays, the different types of insectoids, the giant spiders, the mantids, there's also, Naga species that are there too, but like, then there's also the native main reptoid species, and then the invading dracoids, which the natives hate. They hate them, like greatly, and just wreck them. They're like super psionic, like they're, Mars likes to incarnate into the concept of bravest warrior, great fighter, likes to incarnate as wrestlers, macho men, Hercules, like people,
martial energy.
Yeah. Super soldier concepts, all that, like, go great into that. They're also a good healer, and the iron technology is vast in what it can do. It also works into magnetics, which amplifies everything. Let's see. Yeah, cause like something's like getting me off topic. So yeah, that you can work with, Mars and greater understanding of that system. Everyone has that archetype in them in, cosmic imprint, because that's kind of the man's place of the technology with an operating system with different planets, like, and having an Earth Oracle operating systems that I call Earth body, or if you're working with other planets that you've worked with in many other lives and are tight with, a Mars body, or the sun as a whole, you can have that spectrum, the moon, and then getting systems up and running, get rid of blockages, working with those beings, looking for what you can do in trade, in commerce that like helps them and that also helps you, and it kind of goes back and forth. So the main thing that's going on in like a surprising amount of cool stuff. There's lots of different factions of the secret space program. Light, dark, and neutral. There's also slave trades, breakaway groups, all kinds of shisty stuff going on. But there's also some promising stuff as the planet itself gets more powerful and is able to maintain a greater level of order and peace and resolution on its surface from all the different incarnating beings. The North Pole reptoids, I believe, like Randy Kramer and a bunch of other secret space program whistleblowers will go into the different systems of underground ruins and civilizations of beings that were from the remnant past of what Mars had on its surface, underground, such as the native reptoids. The North Pole ones you want to work with more so if you have to, and otherwise it's like you said, it's dragon business, don't worry about it. But if you have to, it's coming up on your dashboard. They're the kind of ones, because they're more shamanic, connected to the land, definitely more tapped in and easier to work with. The South Pole ones are very aggressive, warlike. They're all very good warriors, of course. They're connected to the planet in an amazing way, psionically, so they can protect it at a greater level when Mars needs help and is getting invaded. They just wreck whatever comes their way. It's really impressive. So like I've had like versions of myself that are like in that species as well as other species and around and in Mars that are protecting. So I'm seeing an increase in remedy for that species in the arena where it wasn't able to get. It's kind of in a system where they go in the fact that everything must be like choices must be made in battle. Everything should be decided based on the synchronicities of what is decided in combat. And, like decisions, choice points, ideas are brought out in battle, and the one that, wins out gets the voice. And so like, Mars goes into that fully too, cause, they have pretty much the greatest say in which being in every battle pretty much wins in influence, as well as many other factors. And that kind of adds to the direction of breeding and shaping, like sharpening a knife to its sharpest point through the centuries, of working out in the favor of the idea that has the greatest capacity for creating the greatest warriors. And defensive soldiers for the planet, because it's doing that in commerce in many different ways. Each one of those beings is interacting at a greater level too, spiritually, protecting the planet, astrally, dream-wise, by locations and visitations they may or may not be aware of, in missions they're doing in a way where their survival and their life isn't threatened by doing the mission, because it's like can sometimes even be done in a way where consciousness is transferred into another body or a clone or whatever, and then that gets carried out if it's like a really high range mission, like a suicide-esque mission where you're not expected to survive, and that's like more easier. Or time travel involved, depends on a lot of factors on which faction is doing the time travel, because there's like on every planet there's a system of timeline conscious awareness beings that kind of police the system of time, both light, dark, and negative, and what manifests, influences, the groups form, sometimes unity or beings are separated from becoming in unity. There's things that go on, and each person that has a connection to that, such as yourself, can have an influence on how things progress in the, what's the word, there's a movie called like Adjustment Bureau. It's like kind of like that.
Love that film.
Yeah, that is a great one. And then there's like a bunch of other ones, and of course Doctor Who. So we can go on to the timeline things too. Besides that, you got your 3 items like I was going into before.
So what do you actually mean? I have 3 items.
Okay, in your heart. You can read this. You can ask, do I have an inventory of spiritual, sacred objects that are either, like, 2, let me see, what did I say? Yeah, one of them is the bilocated object you were looking for before, that we got. I had to do a bunch of stuff because the object was actually held by the royal family, one of the royal families in, like the Tibetan mountains. So that was, there's some stuff with that we had to do. But, a version of you that actually, let me see, cause that was a old, okay. The version of you that actually made it, got it back. And, you got a bilocated version of it energetically, cause it has a collective consciousness. It has, a spiritual system of manifestation of beings that it works with, that allows to work with it, who has clearance, and then a mystery school that you're working with. The anchor to working with that object is bilocated in your heart inventory. It wants to work with you. And it helps, it's a great shielding for timeline. You're cleaning it and clearing it, and you're actually activating, I'm doing a system of where we're activating it, after we cleared of anything that would negatively bleed over from it, because of all the interactions. It was stolen, all this stuff. Let's see how we got, nope, okay. It's not ready yet, so we're gonna warm it up and get rid of all the negative connections, heal it, cause all the spirits and the collective consciousness need healing too. And then we're gonna get that activated. But like, you learned a whole bunch of stuff just by having the object, and you're working with those time traveler versions of yourself, that helped them a lot. So they're also helping you now. And you're uniting more time traveler versions of yourself. And we'll also go into that too, because that's a really advantageous thing for you to do, in alignment with protecting your abilities, because
the other versions of myself that are looking for me.
Yeah. And like, because you're on internet personality, that'll go into like how targeted you are. So we'll go up, and I'll make sure not to like disclose anything too big, but like, it's good entertainment too. You got one that's an astral sacred object that's, okay. What is this? It's an ability. It's a scroll. So that goes in the timeline ability. So you can work with that ability. I'm not allowed to say what the ability is. What am I allowed to say? Ooh, okay. It's a control room operating system. Okay. So yeah, I won't go into that, and later we will. But you got that shield, you got the ability, and then what is the other thing? Yeah, that has to do with your temporal abilities with Astral. Then the other one is some type of offensive weapon. What do you use that for? How does that work? Oh, okay. Do you have like some type of staff or anything that you can like overlay a bilocated energetic form on top of? It's like, you can go to a sacred place or woods, and you can find like a chakra point or something. You can douse it out or muscle test it. And then if you can find a branch or something from that place that, like, even if it's haunted, it has a great, exponential power. You just want to de-haunt the shit out of it and make sure that it's like in the sun, and, you're clearing it out and all that stuff. Is going to bring back some energies. You want to work on that or whatever. But if you can go to a sacred place, that's even better. And get like a nice, walking stick or staff that you can overlay a program of protection over, for this temporal staff. So you can use it anytime you're getting, messed with temporally. And it's a good, don't mess with me kind of thing. 'Cause like, you also, like, remember last time we went into how me and your higher self set up a big trap for any being that's, messing with you?
Somebody, was you talking about traps? Somebody was also sort of talking about traps. But I've also been trapping fruit flies because it has been a problem with bananas and things. And you have to, alright, so here's what, the concept of a trap is to make something appear very sweet and inviting, yet at the same time you can't get out again once you're in, and, also it will kill you in the end, or pretty soon.
Yeah. It's cool that you brought fruit flies too. I actually make a trap too, cause I get fruit flies. I buy fruit and I open my screen door, and like everyone else, they fly through the screen door. It's like bananas and stuff. So I'll keep my fruit in a open bag when I know there's a whole bunch of fruit flies in the house, and then they'll all swarm in the bag, and they'll close the bag, or like a bowl or whatever that you can put a cover on. Then I'll put all the fruit flies in near my ancestral altar, and then I'll engage in a clearing healing process with all the spirits of the fruit flies that are entangled with me as unentangled observers, and I'll do a commerce with them in clearing that also allows me to work with them as an unentangled observer technology and their future generations as they breed. And make it so that I can also influence them away from coming in the house, because I don't really want them in the house, but might as well while they're there. And then I release them at the end somewhere away from the house, so that they can go off and do their thing. And then I have more spiritual reach. There's a way to do this negatively, of course, which I don't recommend, because it will also have a little bit of karmic backlash, but you can do it in alignment with the collective consciousness of the fruit flies or whatever insect involved, because this is, you can use that as a technology to view or become aware of distant places, and you can also influence them to go places and give messages to beings by like landing on them. A lot of insectoid species will do this. I have fun practicing with it with species I'm talking to, where we'll influence an insect nearby each other. Like they'll influence an insect that's nearby me, and I'll influence one near them. They'll usually have, if it's like a bigger, giant telepathic like mantoid or bee or a queen or whatever, like they'll have governance over a DNA lineage of, you know, the micro expression of their species as like messengers. That will be hive mind collected. It's an interesting thing that they do, and I'll use it as a way to exchange upgrades with them in commerce, back and forth, and she'll influence like the bee to like do a figure eight in front of me, and I'll do the same, and we'll see if I can do the same thing back and forth, and like, oh, touch me on my right arm or whatever, and then we work our way up. I started like from the smaller insectoids. I recommend not working on the big ones yet, and then working your way up to like bigger and bigger types of insects, and eventually dragonflies, and then other types of animals, and hummingbirds are not easy. And other types of birds that can like kind of manifest as animal medicine. They won't. Some of the more sentient beings won't like go right up to you and give you a high five, but like, cause they have their own caution and, instincts and all this, but they can show up in your life through like passing by or something that will in itself be a message, and you can look behind it. Like Native American wisdom will go into that too.
But not today, because we're right out of time. Sean, this has been an amazing ride once again.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you for being